It had been a month after the mission to Wave and Naruto couldn't be happier to get back to doing A and B ranked missions. Naruto had finally managed to get Anko in on a game of strip poker again. She lost of course, and Naruto lost a lot of blood. Again. How do you do it? Anko asked as she and Naruto were walking towards the Hokage Tower. Do what? Naruto asked with his eyes closed and his hands behind his head. Always win. I don't know really. When I play I just feel like the bets I make are the right ones. I don't know when I'm about to make the wrong bet. I feel it, Naruto said, making Anko raise an eyebrow. It's as if gambling is a part of me. I understand the games so well that I basically know what cards are about to show up. Okay, Anko said as she watched her apprentice. The reason she chose Naruto as her apprentice is because there is nothing she can teach him, and he's been training with the Hokage, thus showing that he's unfit for measly D-ranked mission. She hates D-ranked missions. When they got to the Hokage Tower they found the Junin senseis for the Rookie 12 coming out of the Hokage's office. They walked into his office where he had just started taking out his Ika when he saw Naruto and Anko standing in the doorway. Oh, Naruto-kun, Anko-chan. What are you doing here? He asked and hid his book again. Don't worry Gigi, if we don't kill Kakashi for reading that book then we definitely won't kill you. Naruto said with a smile, letting the Hokage let out a sigh of relief. As for why we're here, want a one-day mission? Anko said and the Hokage nodded. Very well, but as you know Anko-chan, the Chunin exams are tomorrow and Team 7 is missing a member, the Hokage said and Anko nodded. I know, I'm a proctor after all, Anko said with a grin. How about it Naru-chan? Wanna become a Chunin? She asked and turned to Naruto who was already at the Hokage's desk asking for the permission slips. Anko sighed. I'll just take that as a yes, she said and walked over to the Hokage. When does it start? She asked, making the Hokage raise an eyebrow. You don't know. You're a proctor aren't you? He asked and Anko rubbed the back of her head, laughing nervously. And not really. I kind of forgot. And I'm not a proctor for the first exam anyway, she said, making Naruto and Sarutobi sweat drop. Anko, if you would have said that first then you wouldn't have had to say that you forgot. You could have saved a lot of face, Naruto said, making Anko freeze before slumping her shoulder. Damn, she muttered and the male's sweat dropped again. Sarutobi coughed lightly before speaking. Anyway, you're supposed to meet outside the academy at 10 a.m. tomorrow, he said and smiled at Naruto. Good luck, Naruto smiled back and nodded before leaving the office. When he was gone Anko turned to the Hokage. Does he ever show you any respect? She asked and Sarutobi sighed. Sadly, no, he said before smiling. Or at least he doesn't really address me properly, but I think that's his way of showing respect, he said and Anko nodded before bowing and leaving. The Hokage sighed before taking a scroll out of his desk and started writing. When he was done he called in Katetsu. Take this to Kakashi and tell him that his team can join the Chunin exams, he said and Katetsu nodded. Once he was gone the Hokage sighed before pulling out his smut, giggling perversely while reading. Oh Suki, you're a bad girl, he giggled before turning the page. The next day Naruto was standing out in the sun waiting for his team. When they showed up he gave them a greeting in the form of a nod. Well, it looks like we'll be working together again huh? He asked and Sakura gave a nod while Sasuke just heffed. Let's go shall we? Naruto asked and started walking into the academy. Once there they saw two guys standing in front of the door, beating a guy in green spandex. Don't cry about it, said one of the guys who had a runny nose and spiky hair. We're doing you brats a favor. The Chunin exams are dangerous, said the other guy who was wearing a bandana and had a smug look on his face. You could get killed if you're not ready. Hell, even we've failed 3 times, said the spiky-haired one. Sasuke, being the show-off he is, decided to step forward. That's nice, but you will let me pass and remove that genjutsu. We're going to the 3rd floor, he said with an arrogant smirk. He turned around when he heard a smack again, skinned to see Naruto with his face planted firmly in his own hand. Baka, if you knew that, then why didn't you just walk past them and let these losers stay here and fail? You just lowered the odds of us passing, he said, and removed his hand from his face to smack it against the back of Sasuke's head. Sasuke just grumbled before walking up the stairs. When they got into the designated room, the Rookie 12 were talking amongst each other while Naruto was looking around for people who might be a challenge when he saw a redhead with the kanji for love tattooed on his forehead and dark ring around his eyes. The boy was literally oozing killer intent. He turned to the Rookie 12 in time to see a silver-haired boy with glasses dodge a punch from a hunched-over guy with his face covered in bandages. He didn't bother to listen to what bandages said since there was an explosion of smoke in the front of the classroom. Everybody take a number, sit down and shut up before I fail you all, came a booming voice that Naruto knew belonged to his archenemy, Morino Ibiki. Why was Ibiki Naruto's archenemy? Because Ibiki has a poker face that seems like it's carved out of stone. Naruto had lost one hand of poker his whole life, and that was against Ibiki. Ibiki was now considered an idol amongst Konoha's poker players. Naruto quickly went through the test. He was done after 5 minutes. 55 minutes to spare until the 10th question. What to do, he thought. He snapped his fingers before biting his thumb. Kuchio's no jutsu, he mumbled and put his hand on the desk before summoning the two pipe-smoking pandas Cho and Han. Uzumaki, what the hell are you doing? Ibiki shouted when he saw the two pandas. Naruto just put his wallet on the table. I've already answered the questions, and now I was about to ask my friends here if they wanted to play a game of 5-card draw poker with me, Naruto said, and the pandas immediately took out their own wallets. Wanna join us? Naruto asked and gestured for the empty spot in front of him. Just grab a chair and sit down. Ibiki thought for a moment before grinning. Fine. Prepare to be ruined, Uzumaki, he said, and forced an examiner to stand while Ibiki stole his chair. Yeah, what Scarface said, the red-wearing panda named Cho said, earning him a glare from Ibiki and a sigh from his sister. Ototo, you should call people names like that. You might have hurt his feelings, Han said in a soft voice while Naruto was dealing the cards. Oni-chan, look at his face. Anyone who's been through enough to get scars like that don't go running home, hugging a teddy bear while crying from mere words, Cho said, and Naruto started chuckling. What's so funny? Cho asked as Naruto continued chuckling. I was just imagining what it would look like if he actually did that, Naruto said as he wiped a tear from his eye. Everybody in the room who had been listening to the conversation looked at Ibiki, imagining what he would look like before the entire crowd broke out into a giggle fit. See, they think it's funny too, Naruto said and gestured for the crowd. Ibiki just stared at Naruto with an icy glare. Just play, he said simply before looking down at his card. After 15 minutes of playing, Naruto had finally figured Ibiki out. I see, he shuffles his cards when he bluffs, he thought with a smirk. This is gonna get easy from now on. Needless to say, 40 minutes later, Ibiki, Cho and Han were ruined with Naruto cackling like a madman. Anyo, Ibiki-san, said an examiner. Ibiki turned to him. What? He asked with a pissed-off voice and an aura that screamed, piss me off and you're dead. Anyo, it's time for the final question, the examiner said before slinking back to his previous spot, thanking Kami for not getting killed. Oh, right, Ibiki said and turned to the genin in the room. I'd like to go over the added rules for this question, he said with the death aura still around him. I'll now explain the rules of desperation. Now first, for this 10th question, you must choose whether you will take it or not. Choose, yelled a blonde Suna Kunoichi with 4 pigtails. What happens if we choose to not take it? Ibiki smirked. If you choose to not take it, you and your team automatically fail, he said, and all the genin started shouting. What does that mean? And then of course we'll take it. Ibiki kept his smirk. Now for the other rule. If you choose to take it, and answer incorrectly, that person will lose the right to ever take the Chunin selection exam again, he said, freezing the entire class. What kind of stupid rule is that? Shouted Kiba. There are guys here who've taken the exam before. To their surprise, Ibiki started chuckling. He, you guys were unlucky. This year it's my rules that count. But I'm giving you a way out. Those that aren't confident enough can choose not to take it and try again next year. He looked around the genin. Those that don't wish to take the question, raise your hand. Once your number is confirmed, take your team and leave. Lots of genin started raising their hands. After a while, Ibiki looked at Naruto, who sat there with a coin in his hand. What about you, Uzumaki? Feel confident enough to take it? He asked Naruto, who shrugged. I don't know. I'll put my outcome in the hands of Lady Luck, he said, and flipped the coin into the air. He grabbed it in the air with his right hand and placed it on the back of his left hand with his right, keeping it hidden from view. Heads and I'll take the question, tails and I quit, he said, and removed his right hand to look at the coin. Every genin in the room were looking at Naruto's left hand. Heads. I'll stay, Naruto said, and crossed his arms and leaned back. Another 5 minutes of waiting passed and a couple of more genins quit. Any more quitters? Ibiki asked and looked around. Seeing no one raising their hands, Ibiki nodded. Good. For all of you that stayed. You pass, he said simply, shocking the entire class. What? Sakura shouted. What about the 10th question? There never was a 10th question. Or you could say that the choice whether to take it or not was the 10th question. Ibiki said with a grin and proceeded to explain about what it means to be a chunin. Sorry about this, skip. I can't remember what he said. When Ibiki was done explaining, a ball of cloth flew in through the window. 2 kunais flew out, sticking the cloth to the ceiling. There was a writing on the cloth. It said, "The sexy and single Mitarashi Anko." Naruto raised an eyebrow at this. This is no time to slack off, you maggots. The hard part starts here. Anko shouted and stood up straight. What? 78, you're getting rusty, Ibiki. Anyway, I'm the second proctor, Mitarashi Anko. We're heading to training area 44 ASAP. Follow me, she shouted and jumped out the window. This is Naruto's sensei, Sakura thought with a sweat drop. All the genin filed out of the room with Naruto staying behind. Cho disappeared in a poof of smoke while Han stayed, climbing onto Naruto's shoulder. Naruto walked up to Ibiki and gave him his money back. You're giving it back to me. Why? He asked, narrowing his eyes. I knew you'd do some psychological torture, so I decided to take all your money, pissing you off, thus giving you that lovely aura of death. Naruto said with a grin. Ibiki chuckled. Well, it worked. Thanks, kid, he said, and Naruto nodded before leaving with a shunshin. Now Naruto was standing in front of training area 44 with the rest of the genin. Welcome to training area 44, also known as the Forest of Death, Anko said, making several genin gasp. You'll soon find out why it's called that, she said with a bloodthirsty grin. Naruto started mimicking her. You'll find out. Come on, I thought you'd have something better than that. You're not scaring anyone. And the moment he said that, he saw Anko throw a kunai towards him. He could have dodged it, but chose not to. He figured that this was another attempt from Anko to scare the rest of the genin. It worked. The kunai whizzed past his head, making a small cut appear on his cheek. Then she shunshin behind him, put a kunai to his throat and licked the blood off. Your blood tastes good, she said, taking another lick. Naruto grinned slyly. I don't think that's the only part of me that tastes good, he said, making Anko blush. She straightened out and shook off the blush. Ahem. Okay, smartass. You hand out these consent forms, she said, and gave Naruto a stack of papers, making said boy pout. Naruto-kun, that was very dirty of you, Han said, and Naruto scratched the back of his head while handing out the papers. Sorry about the Han-chan, he said, and gave another genin a paper. I just couldn't come up with another comeback line. Han sighed. Just please don't say anything like that in front of me again. When Naruto got to the end of the line of genin, he found a shimmering item on the ground. On closer inspection, he found that it was a gold locket in the shape of a heart. On the back there was an inscription. To my little angel, I'll always be with you. Now I'm going to explain the second test, then you can sign the forms. Once you've signed them, You hand them into the booth behind me to get your scroll, she said and pointed to the booth. What scroll? Sakura asked. I'm getting to that little girl. Anko replied. Now. Half of you will get a Earth scroll and the other half will get a Heaven scroll. There are no rules as for how you will obtain the scrolls, though to pass the exam you need both scrolls and all of your teammates alive and kicking. You have to get to the tower that's in the middle of the forest, about 10 kilometers from the gates. You have 5 days. Good luck, she said before muttering under her breath. You're gonna need it. Naruto quickly signed his consent form and waited for his team to sign it. They handed the papers over and received a Heaven scroll. Once everyone got a scroll, they were standing in front of their designated gate. Naruto was standing at gate 12 with his team when his sensitive ears picked up a silent sobbing noise. What the hell, he thought and turned to his team. Wait here, I'll be right back, he said and started walking in the direction of the sound. He had walked about 50 yards when he saw Anko frantically searching through her pockets. No, 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 it can't be gone. How could I've lost it? She yelled to herself hysterically with tears streaming down her face. Lost what, Anko-chan? Naruto asked as he walked up to her. My locket. The locket my mother gave to me. Anko yelled, making Naruto smile and look up at the sky. You meant for this to happen, right? He asked the sky, making Anko stop searching her pockets. What are you smiling about? She yelled and Naruto reached into his pocket and pulled out the locket he found on the ground. Is this it? He asked and held out the locket before being grabbed in a bone-crushing hug. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Anko kept repeating into his chest. Where did you find it? She asked once she regained her composure. I found it when I handed out the consent forms. Lady Luck must have wanted me to find it. You know that you're talking about fate now, right? Not luck, Anko said and Naruto shook his head. No, I'm talking about luck. I was lucky enough to get the paper duty, finding the locket and hearing your sobs. It was all luck, not fate, Naruto said with conviction in his voice. I refuse to believe fate. By the way, why is that locket so important? This is the only thing I have left from my mother, she said sadly. Orochimaru destroyed everything else. He said that bonds make you weak. This is what I managed to save. Thank you. No problem. How about I thank you by buying you some dango when this exam is over? She asked with a grin. Mitarashi Anko, are you asking me out on a date? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. Maybe. Would you mind? Naruto grinned. Not at all. Now I think I have to go back to my gate, he said, making Anko's eyes widen. Oh yeah, the exam, she shouted and started running. See you later, Naruto-chan. Yeah, Naruto replied before running back to his gate. Thank you, my lady, he said to the sky. Meanwhile, in heaven. Ha, Naruto-kun believes in me. Not you, Lady Luck shouted to her red-headed friend. Fate pouted. So, why would I care what a puny mortal thinks of me? Granted, a very hot and strong mortal, but a mortal nonetheless. She responded with a blush. Lady Luck grinned. Maybe I should pay him a visit soon. That would be a shocker for him. But it seems he's already taken by that Anko woman, she said and turned to her friend. Fate, did you have anything to do with Naruto-kun finding that locket? Fate shook her head. No, why would I bring those two together? Lady Luck put a hand on her chin. Maybe Kami Otusan had something to do with it. And I wonder if that Anko woman is willing to share, she said with a perverted grin.